Yup. Reacting to basically Phil Spencer talking about Redfall.
Of course, this is the kind of funny. Of
Redfall bad launch. This
course,
guy, he's the CEO of Xbox. He's CEO of Xbox. And Redfall did have a bad launch. It wasn't that. It was horrible actually. Very not sugarcoat. It was a super bad launch. Definitely one of the worst in history because it's unplayable and they charge $70 for it. If you wanna, I think it's exclusive, but yeah. But if they charge $7 for it on PC and Xbox, if you're not a Game Pass subscriber, I played it. Obviously, it's the video before this one, and I played it longer than a video. You didn't see it because I think games should give a hour or two before
CMA
you think it's bad
kind
or
of
good. And yeah, it's terrible. I don't think there's really anything they could do to Redfall, because even if Redfall fixed the frames, it's just a bad gameplay formula too. It's too easy. It's not hectic enough, and it's just plain. It's not like Back for Blood, Left 4 Dead, or what's that game called? World War Z. It's not like that. With all them games, which we thought it was supposed to be one of those because we get those like every 3 months. We thought it was supposed to be one of those. It wasn't. I don't know what it was,
blocking
but let's
our
hear what he said.
acquisition of Activision Blizzard King
I'm on
and
the Xbox.
Redfall coming out to poor reviews at the launch. Let's start off at the top. Phil, let's talk about the CMA and, of course, this Activision Blizzard acquisition. How are you feeling about this? What should
It
be the
sucks that he
overall
got
mindset
blocked.
for Xbox gamers when we look at this after months and months of conversation?
Yeah, we remain confident. Obviously, the news from the CMA, which for those not tracking all this, is the United Kingdom's regulatory board on acquisitions to block the acquisition. We'll be appealing that. That's our plan. We continue to work with the European Union. We'll continue to work with the FTC. I think there are like 14 jurisdictions all up. We're working on approval. I think we have 9.
Oh shit.
Plan. We continue to work with the European Union. We'll continue to work with the FTC. I think there are like 14 jurisdictions all up. We're working on approval. I think we have 9 approvals so far. But the CMA decision was disappointing.
It was
We're
very
talking to that.
disappointing because it's a game company. It should be able to be bought. It's just like any other thing that wants to be bought. Like they bought Bethesda. Just because Bethesda isn't big as Activision, don't mean it can't be bought. It's weird. It's kind of stupid. I don't know. I mean, Call of Duty is that type of guy. I don't know any other Activision games really. All I really know is Call of Duty, which is known for. But if Call of Duty wants to be bought or can be bought, and you got the bigger bank to do it, that's not Xbox fault that they can do that. It's a shame.
For coming up on a year. They've defined a market of cloud
Even
gaming
after they
that,
promised 10
in my
years of
mind,
all
doesn't really
platforms.
exist yet today. But they have a point of view that maybe we have a lead in a market that is just forming, and that this content could somehow prohibit others from competing in that market. But
Just
we'll
the Xbox
appeal.
platform.
We stay on it. The company remains very, very committed. We think Activision Blizzard King is not our strategy, but it is an accelerant for our strategy. So we're still heads down and working through regulatory.
I am pleased to hear that, of course,
And
as
let's
a
try
big
again
fan of
when they
many
can.
of those gaming franchises over there. I'm looking forward to seeing this deal go through, and I'm glad to hear that you and the team are still hard at work at making this happen. It has been a long road. It's been
I thought
a
it was
tough
over. I
road
thought they
to
blocked
talk
it.
about it each and every single week, kind of falling apart. But I'm
It's always
happy
the
to hear
Brits, isn't it, Mike?
It's
We're always the
Gary.
fly in the ointment. We just got to rain on everyone's parade.
It's a tough one, Gary. Of course, we got to move on to the next one. Phil, of course, Redfall has released from Arcane Austin, and it's been a tough release week for that, coming out to low reviews and a lot of disappointment from many fans. Can you talk about that? What is your thoughts right now as we head into the first week of this game being out?
It's not gonna do good. It is
Yeah,
5 months from now.
I'll start. I'll hit Redfall, but I'll just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than
What I think went wrong with Redfall is I think they released a bad game. I just think that's it. I don't think they. I mean, obviously they were being lazy with it, but I think they just released a bad game. I don't think they try to get over on the consumers. I don't think they hated its users. I think they just released a bad game, and that's it. I don't know how you do that with the new consoles we have. The I don't even know if Redfall was on Unreal Engine, but anyway, with the Series X and the PCs we have nowadays, I don't know how you release that type of game. But I think they just released a bad game because Hi-Fi Rush, um, what's that game? The Plague Tales, both of them. Wulong. They're good games. Nobody was saying shit when they were doing good. Plague Tale was getting nominated for Game of the Year. It wasn't exclusive on Xbox, but oh shit, I'm tripping. No, take that. No, actually, no, it does count. It was a day one release. I'm tripping. No, Plague Tale was a day one release, and no one was saying shit when Hi-Fi Rush, Plague Tale, and Wulong was doing good. They were just like, okay, keep doing it, and then you get a bad release, everybody's quick to call you bad. I think they'll do better, obviously. They got Starfield coming. And the other game, is it Flintlock? I forgot. It looks like a Soul
Disappointing
Light.
the Xbox community. I've been a part of it for a long time.
And other games I really don't care about,
work
like
on
Forza.
Xbox, head of the business, have a lot of friends, get a lot of feedback, and just to kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed. I'm disappointed.
See what he said? Watch the company lose confidence. Also, the fans. Like, the fans were so quick to hop off of Xbox the moment they failed. A lot of people that's downing Xbox, you would think before this happened that they were day one fans of Xbox. I'm not hopping off. Xbox has always come through with bangers. And this is what happened. Xbox rarely fails. That's why it's such a big deal. They had a clean slate of games for a long time. It's like PlayStation. Like, if PlayStation fails, same thing would happen. Let PlayStation drop. If PlayStation were to drop Redfall, the same thing would happen. The fans would be like, oh my God, it's over for PlayStation. It's just people. It's just the nature of people. People, the fans, the consumers. It's the nature of them when something goes wrong to act like the world is on fire, or the company in this case.
I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, and then we weren't shipping 60 frames per second. That was kind of our
that was stupid.
Punch in the chin, rightfully,
Should have delayed
a couple
it
weeks ago. And then seeing the game come out and the critical response.
I don't know why they didn't delay it.
Wanted.
It's not like we were going to lose
and
anything.
It's disappointing. And so, kind of pick myself up. What can we learn? How can we get better? One thing I'll fight is kind of what went wrong. There's
Don't drop a game at 30.
Quality
That's the
and
start.
Execution things that we can do. But one thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams. Then a lot of people will say, hey, you've got teams know how to do one kind of game. Just force them to go do the one kind of game that they have a proven track record for.
What's wrong with that?
And I'm just not
I don't mean
that.
bringing
Maybe that
other
means
people to
I'll
help.
Underdeliver for some of our fans out there. But when a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to go do Hi-Fi, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3, I want to give the teams the creative platform.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having new people do things. Like, even within Hi-Fi Rush, who would have thought that? But you could still have a team try new things. I mean, have the veterans do what they know how to do and bring in new people with ideas to add on. I didn't know Redfall was made by a team that didn't used to do games like Redfall. Why didn't they just bring the people that know how to do Redfall and have the people that had ideas for Redfall come in and add on?
Go and push their ability, push their aspirations.
Xbox is too big to be risking
need to have
anything.
a great selection of games that are continue to come that surprise and delight.
It better be glad they dropped on Game
and we
Pass.
underdelivered on that, and for that I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want, but it's ours to deliver.
So following up on that, Phil, so again, I appreciate the transparency on that, but there is a second component to this. And as you may or may not know, I talk to a lot of people in the Xbox community because I want to understand, what people are excited about, what they're frustrated about, things like that. So kind of sticking on this conversation about Redfall.
I'm not frustrated over anything.
Kind of a bigger general question as well. And I kind of want to read directly from this so I make sure I get it crystal clear. So what goes into the decision to delay a game when you launch it feature incomplete or there's a bunch of technical issues? Obviously, we've seen recent examples.
There should be no thought. There shouldn't be a question. If you say a game is coming out, I'd rather have Redfall delay. It's coming out this year. I'd rather have it delayed to 2024 than it drop as bad as Redfall any day. Any day. I don't even think that's a question from the fans. The consumers don't care if you delay a game to have it better. You hear it all the time from people. Delay the game, keep delaying it until it's done. Problem with this is they delayed it a lot, dropped it, and it was bad. But they still should have delayed it again. Or came out and said, we don't know when it's coming out until it's finished. Don't make promises. There's no reason. The team knew the game wasn't finished. Let's be real. They knew it wasn't finished because they talking about dropping out 30. That's unacceptable. If it's 60, if it ain't 60, then don't drop it. But if they know the game wasn't complete. Don't make promises that you can't keep. They promised, obviously the trailer, the games, they promised it was going to be good, the reviews. It's one of the best, it could be one of the best games of this year so far. No, don't drop a game if it's not finished. It's that simple. There's nothing that goes into it. I don't know.
Around the industry, Redfall and Halo Infinite are two that stick out in my mind for Xbox.
Halo Infinite?
We obviously have seen the review.
It didn't need delay. It was good. It had a bad. It had fire launch.
Delayed. We know
it had
no
content though.
Wants to ship the best game that they
after
possibly
a while
can, but from your level, what's the balance there on when to ship a game that may be feature incomplete or have some technical issues,
do it,
or just simply give it more time and delay.
Never ship an incomplete game.
Well, I think those are, and I'm happy to go very deep on this. I think if I think about a team's execution on a game, we had a creative vision, and did we realize that vision through the game that we created? That's not a delay question if the answer is no. You can't take something that you started on. This isn't a Redfall specific conversation,
right.
But we will build games that review in the high 80s, and we will build games that review in the 60s. It's just kind of part of being in game publishing. And if you're afraid of that, then you shouldn't be in the entertainment business. You shouldn't be in the games business. That said, every time we deliver something below our own internal expectations that surprises us, we should check our process.
He basically just said we do so good that when we fail, it hits us way harder than anything else. That goes for PlayStation too. Obviously, PlayStation. That's what he said. We do so good that when we do bad, it sticks out. It's like a white stain on a black sheet of a huge white circle on a black piece of paper. You're gonna notice it. Yeah, they do so well that when they fuck up, you're gonna notice.
I don't look at the review scores on Redfall, and there are quality issues, and we're working on those.
The reviews are valid.
There's a fundamental piece of feedback that we get that the game isn't realizing the creative vision that it had for its players. That doesn't feel like hey, just delay it. That feels like the game had a goal to do one thing, and when players are actually playing, they're not feeling that thing. They're not feeling the creative execution of the team. When a game needs to be delayed, what we did with Halo, we did with Starfield, we did with Redfall, because the production timeline is saying we have this vision and our production timelines don't get us to the completion of that vision, uh, we do delay games. We do that.
But you didn't get to
Learning
the.
about the quality, there
Did
are
they?
clearly, I've
No,
seen them. I know there are
they didn't get
bugs
to
in
the vision of
Redfall
Redfall.
that's launching. But when I look at like the crash rates on the game, because we get all the telemetry of everything that's happened, it's not out of proportion
Yeah,
for
because
a
it's at 30
game that
frames.
has just launched. It's kind of in the pocket of what we would expect.
It's
That's
30
not to
frames. Of course, it's not going to
deny any
crash.
of the animation, streaming of texture bugs, the AI bugs that we've seen. We will go work on those. But when I look at the review scores of this game, it's did we have enough of creative differentiation in our.
And don't get me wrong, I didn't expect Redfall to be a high 90. I was expecting Redfall review from the trailers, from what type of game it's going to be a 80. To be 80. I wanted to get in, have fun, and that's what I wanted. Not to care about the story, but to have fun. I mean, I don't really care about the stories of these type of games. Where was he? Left 4 Dead, Back for Blood. I don't really care about the stories. I just want to have fun. That's what the aspect of them games supposed to be. I want to have fun. They have powers, the light of the stakes on your weapons. I expected it to be 80. It wasn't that. It was a low 50. 40, man. It's kind of unplayable right now. And if you bought the game, they should offer full refunds back. I do think they should do that. Offer full refunds from the game for everybody. It was just like unacceptable to drop this.
Core idea. And did we realize that creative ambition?
And I actually
I'm a
wanted to play
huge
Redfall.
supporter of
If you
Arcane
see my
Austin. Their
Xbox
track
Live
record
reaction,
is
it's
awesome.
like a year
I love
ago.
a lot of the great
I was
games
intrigued.
that
I was like,
they've
oh, this looks
built.
pretty nice.
This is one where the team didn't hit their own internal goals when it launched. I think it's maybe a little simplistic to just say, hey, if you would have just delayed it 3 months, the core creative of the game would have delivered on something that was different than what it was. So I look at them at different camps. If there's a
Okay, he's
production
saying
timeline issue,
it was going to be
we've been open
bad
to
even if it
delaying.
dropped
If we
on
just
60.
have more bugs than we should have at the end of a game, we're open to delaying. At some point, we have to have a creative vision and put the game out, and reviewers and players will tell us what they
I think it's saying even if it was 60, yeah, it wasn't going to hit
Can I jump
because
in?
the people
Yeah, of course.
didn't
Please,
like
Gary.
it like
So
it.
I have just a
They didn't like
couple
the
of
gameplay aspect
small
or the
observations
story.
and then a question. First of
was
all,
still
I want
gonna
to
hurt.
give Phil props for coming on here
Give him
today,
props,
and
Gary.
talk just for a minute about why
Oh,
I
facts.
admire Phil, because he and I have been here before. Back in 2020 during the pandemic, when
Phil
I was
does
doing
talk a
Animal
lot, though.
Talking, Phil, you'll remember this. Phil was booked to come on my dumb Animal Crossing talk show, and then after he was booked, the news came that Halo Infinite was going to be delayed and would not ship with the Xbox Series X and S. And it was you'll remember, it was a big deal. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and people rending their garments. And I was fully prepared for the other
Halo
shoe to
Infinite is
drop.
okay right now.
I was waiting for a call from Xbox PR, from Jeff.
could
Your
still
friend of
take
mine,
off.
Jeff over in Xbox
I don't know
PR,
what
to
they're doing.
say, Phil's not going to be able to come on the show live because, it's a big mess right now. We don't want to.
Oh, are they talking right
for
now?
that? And Jeff called, and I thought, here it is. Here comes the other shoe. And he was like, Phil just wants to know, like, when's the tech rehearsal? Like, it's on. Oh, it's going
that's
ahead.
cool as shit.
And he came on a live talk show and took a bunch of tough questions on a really tough subject and took it on the chin. And I've always admired him for that. It would have been very easy for him to pull out, and he didn't. He came on and
That isn't the thing. His ego isn't that huge. I mean, he is saying what people want to hear. But even in other industries, music, movies, content creators, shoes, brands, anything that is so huge, when they go wrong, they usually just hide and let the storm fly over into their bunker. But they don't get rid of the storm so it can come back. It's different because he actually is coming out. He's talking. A lot of companies don't do that. You see it all the time. If something go wrong, they'll just hide until like people forget about it. And people don't forget about it. They'll bring it back
I
up.
salute Phil for that. The other point I want to make is that every time there may be some Sony platform warriors out there right now crowing about the fact that Redfall has underperformed. Just want to point this out as a creative. Every time somebody takes a big bet, especially a big AAA bet on an original idea, a new IP, and it fails, everybody suffers. It's bad for everybody because
That's not true. That's not true. It's not bad for Sony. That Redfall did terrible. That's a complete lie. And when he's talking about the Sony fanboys, I don't hate Sony. I do like Xbox more because I grew up on Xbox. I grew up on Gears and Halo. I don't do console wars. I wouldn't say that. I don't want Sony to go out of business. I don't want Xbox to go out of business. but I do want them to compete. Like they're two. I see it like football teams. A lot of people think that it has to be console wars. No, it's like football teams or any sport. I want Xbox to do good, and I want PlayStation to respond, and I want Xbox to respond to that. That doesn't mean it's a console war. I don't know where console war comes up in that. Xbox should respond to something Sony does, and they should try to top each other every time. And you know what that does? It releases games. It releases good games for everyone. Imagine that. It doesn't have to be console wars because console wars is wanting Sony to shut down, or at least that's how I see it. Wanting PlayStation to do bad. Yeah, that's what console wars is. I don't want PlayStation to do bad at all. I love PlayStation. If you I just got done playing God of War Ragnarok. That was a while ago. But I don't want them to do bad at all. And I'm getting a PlayStation 5 as soon as I see one. For Final Fantasy 16. When Final Fantasy 16 drop, I want Xbox to be like, oh shit, this shit's a hit, which it will be. And be like, let's drop Redfall. And I mean not Redfall, Starfield. And be like, and then Starfield, and then Sony's like, okay, Starfield's good, let's respond.
It makes it that
That's
much
how I see
harder
it.
for the Phils and the Jim Ryans of the world, the big, the creative, the decision
Jim
makers
Ryan's a Sony CEO.
to take a chance on them. Oh, but the last time we did that, it didn't work. Like maybe
That's
let's
not
just make
true.
a sequel to the next thing, or let the algorithm tell us what to do. So every time
Redfall
somebody
doesn't
takes a
hurt
risk on
Sony.
something new, and especially if it
I
involves
mean, at least
something
I don't
different in
believe
game
that.
design, let's try something that has been done before and it doesn't work. It hurts everybody. So I just want everyone to be clear. This sucks for everybody, and I see it in my business. I see it in Hollywood.
I really
see it in
don't
film and
believe that.
television. It's why so much content is so generic and derivative and formulaic because
That's
everyone's
true.
afraid to take a risk. And when something new succeeds, it's good for
But
everyone.
that's saying
When
Redfall was supposed
something
to be different.
new
It wasn't
and
different.
original fails, it's bad for everyone. So I just want to acknowledge that this is like a big shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite, including the Sony people, including everybody.
Stop saying that.
Specifically with the, sorry, this is a long
Sony
time.
didn't take a
Specifically
hit.
with a question for Phil. I want to talk specifically about Redfall. When you say that you're disappointed in the reaction, that to me suggests that the reaction was something different than what you were expecting, what you were hoping for. But I know that when these big AAA games,
Yeah,
they
he's
get
hoping for
subjected
good
to all
reactions.
kinds of internal testing. Focus groups come in. There are third-party companies that will come in and even write like mock reviews or come like hit detection out that will tell you, here's what you can expect the press to make of your game. So usually you've got a sense of what the game is going to, how it's going to be received before it's released, so you can be prepared for it. So Phil, when you say you're disappointed, does that mean that you thought the game was going to be better received, or was it in line with expectations? How surprised were you?
Thought it was going to be
by
good.
The reaction, or how like internally, how much do you know? I feel like this one. People like we know the game. It has problems. Like, to what extent was this different from what you expected? And also, and sorry, I know I've been talking a long time. And as a
He
the
released
second part
it.
of that
He
is,
thought it was going to be good.
when a game is released now, it's not like the old days when a cartridge was shipped in a box and the release of the game was the end of the game's like development
true.
cycle. Now it's just the 1.0 release is just a point on the roadmap. To
It
what
cannot be
extent,
saved.
Given
It
that what we're
cannot be
talking about here
saved.
is not just 30 frames, but design issues, things that maybe
The thing with Redfall is, one, it's different with Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite dropped, and it wasn't unplayable. It was playable. People were playing it for 8-hour streams with so many YouTube videos, tournaments. This game's unplayable at that. Two, people that bought it are going to refund it and not even wait for the update. And I don't even think even fixing bugs and CPU issues, that just the basic formula is good enough to survive. Just the what do you call it? I don't know, the recipe for the game is not good enough to survive. The go here, do this, do that. They should have just went all out. It's weird because I don't know if they were even trying to be like Back 4 Blood, because they keep saying they weren't. They had a different vision in mind. But it's too late. You can't drop a game this bad. It's like, you can get stabbed in your chest and be saved, but you're not getting stabbed in your heart and being saved. Like, it's unplayable right now. And a lot of people are refunding it, and they're not buying it again, I'll tell you that. The game could drop 5 months from now. Everybody's saying, oh, it's playable, it's good, play with your friends. And it's still at the $70 price. They're not rebuying it because it's a big risk. And not everybody can just buy games. Like, even me right now, I'm not rich at all. I pick and choose games I buy.
more conceptual. To what extent do you think, or are you committed to continuing
That's why
to
you see a
work
lot
on
of
the
Game
game
Pass
and
games on my stuff.
getting it maybe a year down the road, Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky. We've seen these redemptive stories in the past.
They didn't drop them
To what
playable.
extent do you hold out hope that you can still get the game closer to where you
They
wanted
had
it to be at
content
launch?
issues and bug
I know that
issues,
was
not
a lot.
unplayable.
No, well, at first I thought your words about creative ambition of teams, you especially, I mean, you've lived this, you've done this, are very well said and very spot on.
Yeah,
So
Alan Wake
thank
in
you
the
for
background.
that, and that's why I love your voice
I
in
should
this
play that, huh?
community because you've created, you've seen kind of ups, and as anybody in the industry, we've all seen downs. And on the score, yeah, we do mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is like double digits lower than we thought we would be with this game went through our mock reviews, and that's what's one of the disappointing things. Like we would never strive to launch a game that we thought was going to review in the low 60s.
Yeah.
It's not part
See,
of our
he thought it
goals.
was going to be good.
If you look at our review scores over the last year, it's not a defense at all. If you look at the review scores over the last year, I think the teams have done a better job in upping the level of quality of the games that we've shipped. Some of those games first shipped on PlayStation, but still, when I go through the list of the games, you still have to build a game, you still have to ship a game. And this game was significantly below our internal metrics in terms of where it actually reviewed. But that's not on anybody but us. Like,
At least they know it's bad.
In terms of
They're
our
not trying to
commitment
say
the
that the
game,
fans
absolutely. The
don't
team
know
at
what a
Arcane
good game is.
on taking the near-term feedback. We're still working
They
on
know
the
it
60
was
frames per
bad.
second. We have a good timeline for that. We're committed to getting that done, and we're going to continue to work the game. I think we've shown a commitment to games like Sea of Thieves and like Grounded to continue to go and
Ground
build
is
games.
excellent right now.
But I also know that these games are $70, and I'm not gonna
That's the big
I'm gonna
one.
take full responsibility for launching a game that needs to be great. You know,
That's
I think
the biggest
what I
one.
have with the Xbox community, what I am a part of, is a team. There's still questions that pop every so often of how committed is the company to this category. When are we just going to push Xbox out of the market? There's a lot of Twitter firing of Phil right now, which is fine. I'm way overpaid for the role I have anyway, so like I get that's my responsibility. But we will remain committed to the game and the players as long as the players want to go play games. And that's my commitment to the community. I'm kind of at a low point right now in terms of my delivery on that commitment to the community. But it very much stays. I want to support the team. And I want to support the creative ambitions of
I'm
the
not gonna
teams.
say.
And I
Because
want
it's
to support
okay.
the players. And we let a lot of people down this week with the launch of the game. But we will continue.
You
to
let
strive
everybody
on.
down.
You have to, right? That's what creative is about.
No, you absolutely do. And to kind of start transitioning this into hopefully more happy news, but I do want to address something, around that. Obviously, today you announced the Xbox Game Showcase, which will be happening this June. And obviously, there's going to be a lot of new reveals and surprises that come out of that, which is great.
That's good.
But I am
That's
going to
good,
bring
though.
it back again to another common theme that I do hear through the
Hopefully we get a
community.
Gears
And I've
announcement.
actually said this to you in the past, but it's about communication coming from Xbox. I do feel back in 2021, you did a fantastic job with communication, which arguably has been the best year during this current generation of Xbox. Obviously, we know that 2022 was a light year for Xbox as far as releasing titles. Now, last year, during the showcase, you had the 12-month plan. You didn't necessarily deliver on all the games coming.
No, we didn't deliver.
12
Not
months.
necessarily. We didn't deliver.
Absolutely. So my point
So,
of
yeah, I
bringing
remember
that up
that.
is this,
Because they kept
talking
delaying
about
it.
some of the lessons learned that come out of that. And obviously, even with not every game making the 12 months, going back to, again, game development, things happen. Things aren't always going to come on time. But as we go into this showcase, one of the common themes that I hear is I don't know enough about things that you've announced in the past, like even more specifically going back to 2020.
I was going to say, you can't be making promises when you're this
Perfect
big.
Dark, Everwild, which is something we really don't know that much about. Fable, State of Decay 3, Contraband.
Where the fuck
are
are
these? A little more on Hellblade 2. We have studios like In Exile and Compulsion Games that we know are working on things.
All of them, they ring bells, especially State of Decay 3.
So I titled all my questions Balance and Communication, because even in this, it's like, what is that balance on when you show something that you know is going to be years down the road, and kind of that cadence of providing updates along the way. And obviously, as we go into this showcase, not that you need to reveal anything specific here, but what were some of those lessons learned from last year's showcase that you'll bring into this one?
Before he says anything, the really thing that should take away this: don't release a game when you want to. Release a game when it needs to be released. The 12-month plan, it's a bad thing because it's a promise. That was a promise that you'll get a game, or was it 2 games every month? I don't know, but it was a promise that there was a plan of games that would drop months, and it didn't come through. I don't remember it exactly. I did react to it, but that was a super long time ago. You can't make promises like that. They should just drop a game when it needs to drop, and not when you want to drop. That's all I take away from this.
Yeah, and you might try to get me on positive. I'm not in positive mode this week, so I'll apologize for staying in kind of cranky mode. But in terms of lessons learned, and I'll even go back to the Redfall videos on IGN of showing videos of the game
IGN does
running
matter.
at 60
I know this.
PC.
I think they're pretty
at the
valid.
point knowing that the game was going to run
You're not going to
30
agree with
frames per
everything they
second
say.
at launch on console. Like, we have to be transparent about what we're showing, that what we're showing is representative of what our console customer, our most committed customer to our brand, financially
They
committed,
didn't lie.
what they're going to see, what they're going to play, and that transparency just has to get better. And I'm not pointing at anybody but myself, right? And you know, I guess at some point I will have enough knocks against me that it's somebody else here. But you know, that I think it's transparency in what we're building, what our aspiration is for the game, what it's going to look like, what the features are. And it drives me crazy when we self-inflicted wounds of kind of putting things out there in communication that's confusing or misleading about what the actual end product is going to be. So you can try
This
to
is
take
very
me to positive
misleading.
space. I'm just not in that headspace right now.
Because
That said,
this was the
when I
first AAA
go and I
title
look
of
at
this
Showcase,
year, I
and I'm
think,
not going to try to
of Xbox.
oversell Showcase here, because if I were on the other side of watching this, it's like, hey, after Redfall, I'm going to put my hands on the controller, and that's what's going to take to kind of prove to me. But that's not what Showcase is. So um, I'm very enthusiastic about Showcase. We're going to announce some things that people haven't seen, some new games. We're going to give updates to some of the things that were on your list.
Sounds good.
The other thing that gets me really excited is when I look forward over the next quarters, which has always been my focus of how do we get a big game out every quarter at quality, that things are lining up finally after some of the slowdown through COVID. I'm tired of talking about that. But I can now see that we've got games coming every quarter that I think will surprise and delight our customers. We still have to deliver on the creative. We still have to deliver on the technical.
I'm not worried about them selling again. Xbox doesn't have a history of being bad. My throat. Xbox doesn't have a history of being bad at all. Like, I can't even remember the last time Xbox dropped something as bad as Redfall. Really, any game company. It's not like. That's what I don't understand about the a lot of YouTubers and the Twitter people that he's talking about. They are acting like this dude dropped a year of bad $70 games. No, he did not. He dropped one bad $70 game. And the rest of the games he dropped that are they're all good. They're all good. There's a difference between bad and not for you. Like Forza. Forza is not for me, but it's not bad. Plague Tale is for me, but it's not for a lot of people. Xbox doesn't have a history of being bad. So I'm not concerned. A lot of people might be like, oh, he's just saying this because it sounds good. No, he has delivered. I don't see what would be wrong. I can't wait to Starfield drop. Okay. No, I think Starfield's going to be good. I do. Because why not? Why
Not every
think
game
it's going
we
to be
ship
bad?
is for everybody. We know that.
I just said
don't
that.
want to build. I'm not trying to build the one game to rule them all. We will have
See, I
different
just said that.
creative takes and different and we
There's
have a
people out there
very
that didn't
diverse
like God of War
portfolio when you
Ragnarok.
think
As
about the
crazy
stuff
as that
that
sounds.
Microsoft Game Studios builds.
People didn't like
But
Elden
I like
Ring.
that. I think for what we're trying to do as Xbox, which isn't to mimic any of the other platforms out there, it's create our own brand and identity. The diversity of what we build, hopefully, will end up being a strength. But we have to do it at quality. We have to do it in time. on time, and we have to show people what they're actually going to see. We have to
Yes.
show gameplay, and
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of beyond that. Like
Yeah.
we've got to put great.
They
games
didn't
in the
show
hands of our
gameplay
players.
with the
There's-
UI
There's nothing else.
until the
If I
game
could follow
released.
up on that, and I
That's a
apologize,
good
I
one.
do not want to dominate the conversation, but I make sure I want to follow up on the point of everything.
Bro, you
that
barely
just
said
said,
anything.
and I'll take it from a personal standpoint. I've been a big believer in what Xbox has been building since about 2016, right? Xbox Play Anywhere, Game Pass.
Oh, I've been an Xbox fan since, like I said, since I came out the womb. It was my first console was PS2. And then I moved to Xbox 360, and ever since then, I've had PS3 and PS4, but I've only been on Xbox. Xbox has dropped bangers for years, man. They've always delivered. Like I said, when you do so well, and Game Pass. Game Pass is some of the best. Is the best. It's going to be the best subscription. Years from now, people will look back and be like, it was like what game? Hi-Fi Rush, Plague Tale. You're gonna look back, or you're gonna look into the future 3 months from now, and realize how much money you really saved over the hundreds of games you've played on Game Pass. You saved so much money. Wulong, Plague Tale, Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Ravenloke that just dropped today. These are games, Killer Instinct, games that you didn't have to buy, that you don't realize will hit until they're gone, or 3 months. Or when they're gone, you'll buy them.
Plan. We continue.
Man, where was he at?
I know you know that, but
I know.
it's like,
I know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
Man, it's close enough.
this year's
The sentiment that we get from the community right now, that's the sentiment that I even have of it's great to talk about these things. I think we've been talking about them ad nauseum. It's like, when are we going to get to that point of actually?
It is great to talk about
delivering
them.
these
Phil has
experiences?
always
Like
been a
I just
person
ran
to
down
come
those
out and
games.
talk.
There's 20 something studios. Forget Activision. Xbox Game Studios, what it is today. There's more than enough studios and titles out there that we're all anticipating.
This
And
is
I
true.
think that is the common frustration that I see out there from people, that it's like, we're tired of hearing wait till next year. And I know you know that, but
I know.
it's like,
I know.
yeah,
And
yeah.
That is true. That does hurt to hear a game is delayed.
this year started out well.
Yeah,
I
yes,
thought
it did.
Developer Direct was received well.
Oh,
the team did a
no.
really good job.
Don't
I
believe
thought with
that.
the
It started out
messaging
okay.
to your point, around setting expectation. And I will even say, yes,
No, it's been a pretty slow year
I'm
for
rooting
both.
for the home team here, but I'll say over delivering on expectations of that show versus what it was. I think the drop of Hi-Fi to say, hey, if you've got Game Pass, you don't even have to buy the game. Like, just go click.
It was
People
good.
loved Hi-Fi.
Yeah.
Something we don't talk a lot about that same month, Age 2 on console shipped. Truth be told, more people
Age
are
2.
playing a bunch of people are playing Hi-Fi and Age 2, but
I don't
Age
even know
2
what that
actually
is.
has more players right now. But all the fanfare goes to the highly rated kind of new Hi-Fi. Get that.
Is H2
I know
that
the review
war
scores
game?
on Minecraft Legends. Minecraft, I think, always reviews somewhere kind of different than the top. But if I look at the reaction, I think we've already had over 3 million people
Yeah, it's
playing.
great.
I saw like its launch week. It was the number one
It
retail
was a pretty good
game on the
launch.
Switch in Japan,
It's
which
not bad.
isn't always where Microsoft sits in terms of sales. So
It's a pretty good game. I'll play it.
like momentum is building, and then something like Redfall happens, and the Xbox community should demand a lot from us as a team. Where
That's
you sit
true. Like I
inside
said,
of
when you do
Microsoft,
so well,
we've got the resources to
fuck
do
up.
better.
People act like the world is burning.
2022 was, as you said, a very light year, I think is what you said. I might have other words for it. And then 2023, we started well, and this was a knockback. But it's our job to go
I
and
think
deliver
2023
on
has
the
been
next
okay.
games. I can only look forward, right? I can sit here and wallow in my own frustration. But all I can do is say, I'm going to do better tomorrow than I did yesterday, and continue to support the teams and continue to grow. But yeah, I think it is ours to prove that. I can say now, and everybody can already stop. I don't want to hear what Phil has to say about the future, and I kind of fully respect that point of view.
That's true.
That we've got Starfield coming, we've got Forza coming, we've got Hellblade coming. Like, we've got collections of games. I'm seeing very good builds of Avowed and stuff. Like, we're in, like, I can see it. But Until you have a controller in your hand and you're smiling from playing our games, none of my words should matter.
That's another thing. Honey. That's another thing. You don't need to drop a game.
Look at the
You don't need to have the gaming controller in your hands all the time. Redfall should have dropped gameplay with UI. They should have dropped of the release build video. They did not do that. I didn't see that nowhere. Only time I saw gameplay is when it was released. That you cannot do that. You gotta have a demo. You gotta have a full gameplay showcase. Like, because Forspoken dropped the demo and gameplay with UI, and it came out. People didn't like it. Yeah, nobody talks about Forspoken. Forspoken wasn't as bad as Redfall. Forspoken was playable, but it had a bad drop too. But just because you drop a game with a UI, the UI and gameplay, or even a demo, doesn't mean it would drop well. But it helps a lot. It helps the aspect of I spent my money on this. I was ripped off. Thing with Forspoken is when you bought it, you kind of didn't get ripped off. You played the demo. I mean, you did get ripped off, kind of, to an extent. But if you played the demo, then you didn't get ripped off. But if you just bought it based off of gameplay, sometimes that's kind of hurts. But don't drop a game without
PC
gameplay.
version of Jedi
You got to have
Survivor.
the UI.
What a mess. Unacceptable that game shipped in the state that it was. And they must have known. It was, oh, geez, the game has bugs. No, you knew. And you shipped it anyway. So EA Respawn, for even on a massive
don't care about
title
PC
like that,
drops.
Game
I
of the
don't.
Year contender, we all know that. But like the PC version was unacceptable. My understanding is the PlayStation version's a bit of a mess as well. So we're still seeing this stuff happening on the regular.
Only focus on
Just in
consoles,
general,
really. I
when
think you should do
things,
that.
I'm fascinated, as you might know, I'm fascinated by the subject of failure.
I have
'cause
a
I've experienced
PC.
a lot of it
I
in
got a
my own
2060,
career
so
and in my personal life
as
as
you
well. I think
imagine,
about
it
a
doesn't
lot.
run games good
The
at
number
all.
one quote that I stole from a person much smarter
actually,
than me, I
it
talk
does,
about it all the time
actually.
when I talk about writing at creative
read
seminars and
fighting
things like
games
that, is
pretty good.
failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. But that's only true if you can get past feeling sorry for yourself when something fails and sift through the rubble and start figuring out, well, what can we learn? What can we learn from this failure? What can we take from this? What is teachable? And so I wanted to ask Phil, both in general and in the case of Redfall, I know you said you were going to work in towards kind of turning the game around, but like, do you have a formal process? And what does it look like in the case of Redfall when something doesn't meet
I don't think it can be
expectations?
saved.
Is it something you get into right away, or do you wait for the dust to settle? What is the post-mortem process? What is the
Because, like you said, it wasn't just the frames. People didn't like the what it was going to be, even if the frames were good. That wasn't even a lot of the complaints. It was a big part of it. 50% of it was 30 frames per second. The other 50% was it's boring. It was boring to play it. Like, it wasn't hard. It was boring. The CPU was stupid. The gameplay got super repetitive. It's a shooter game. It's hard not to make it repetitive. But like you said, he said it in the earlier video. Even if it dropped to a 60, people still wouldn't like it because the creative aspect isn't what the people wanted.
what went wrong
Which
and
is
how do we
true.
prevent this from happening again process look like at Xbox?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think I love your quote, Gary. I might lift that from you.
That boy gonna sue you.
People don't have to care about this, but I'll talk about it. When we acquire studios, there's games that are in development when we acquire a studio, and then there's things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. And I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox. I do think there's a different expectation for a game and even a team when you've been third party and all of a sudden you become part of first party. There's a different expectation in terms of how you're going to perform on our console. I think there's a different competitive set when people look at what this game is
I don't
and
think
the
anything's
other
wrong with
games that they're going to say, hey, I want this game to feel as competitive as this other game on another console platform.
Look at Grounded. Grounded. If Grounded gets a
do
sequel,
good job early on,
bro, it's going to be
engaging
loved.
with Arcane Austin to really help them understand what it meant to be part of Xbox and part of first party, and use some of our internal resources to help them and kind of move along that journey even faster. So we kind of left them to go work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team, and I still do, and I will totally bet on them to do another great game. But when like Matt Booty and Jamie Leaders running ZeniMax and I sit down, I think we can engage earlier
I
with
don't
our
know them
different
names.
studios. And I do think there's a difference when we come in when the creative's already set on a game. That's not washing our hands of any of the creative. Every game we ship from our teams is an Xbox game. And so it's a full responsibility for it. But thinking about how our internal processes of dev assistance, even some of our internal ATG resources, what's the Advanced Technology Group, and how those work with our internal teams. I think we can do a better job with our internal teams. We did a better job with Starfield. Again, nobody should believe it until they're playing the game, but that game was earlier on in production. And it was easier for us to kind of
Starfield's my most
swarm
anticipated
a
game
bunch
on
of
Drive
people to
because
go and kind of help
I'm a
with some of
huge
the
Fallout fan.
technology on our platform and ensure that we're going to ship a quality experience there. And we should have been there for Harvey and the team earlier. I think that's on us. And then through the process, it's an Unreal game. We have a bunch of studios that have done some really great work on Unreal over the years. And I think we were too late to help in that when they had certain issues that they were working through, which any team will. It's nothing to do with the specific engine. But we have a lot of experience, and we needed to get on that earlier with the team. And we didn't do that. And that's not an excuse. And you asked just to kind of diagnose. So when the 60 frames per second issue came up, we were definitely diving in. We had people from the Coalition and people from Rare and stuff looking, both teams that have done some really great work with Unreal to help us build a 60 FPS plan. But obviously that was a plan that had to be in place last fall in order for us to really be in a position to have it at launch. And I take that as learning, as painful as it is. But as you said, it's part of getting to success are those learnings and that diagnosis. There's a bunch of other stuff I could go into, but then we end up with kind of dev doc, which I'm happy to do. But yeah.
Well, Phil, we don't have much time with you, so I'm going to go around the table, give everybody one final question for Phil. I'm going to rattle off a couple quick ones with you, Phil. Of course, we talk about 60 frames, 30 frames. Should Xbox players expect a clear message this summer with Starfield with 30 and 60 frames? That's a big lesson learned, as you brought up. Should we
better say yeah.
Answer? It's clear as day?
Yeah.
Okay,
60.
That's a great one. Another one. You see a lot of conversation, of course. I want to praise you and the team for really elevating the PC side of this Xbox ecosystem. I think we've seen a lot of great strides in that. But when you see the community talk about the console side of things, do you think you've lost the focus or maybe put too much onto the PC side? Do you think that the console is still getting the console
it doesn't feel like it
deserves, whether it be the homepage update, achievements, of course, looking forward and using the power of this next gen? Do you think you guys have lost that focus, or is it still there, and can we see more love on that side?
Well, we'll definitely continue to focus on making our console experience as great as it can be. I like the homepage refresh and some stuff. I will say, this might be disruptive as well. We have a different vision. Paris talked about this. It's play the games you want with the people you want anywhere you want. We want Xbox to be something that people who buy our console can feel like they're a member of. Obviously, who are playing on PC, who are playing on cloud, that they feel like they're full members of our ecosystem. Game Pass players can play on many different devices, and we remain fully committed.
Sure, you can play on your phone.
We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very, very discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else.
Third place.
Our vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform. But we are not in a position, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true. that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift in some dramatic way.
Oh
We
yeah, that's
lost
not true.
the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games. So when you go and you're building on Xbox, we want our Xbox community to feel awesome. But this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race, I think doesn't really lay into the reality of most.
See, even he admits that there's a console race, whatever you call it. Yeah, no matter what people say, how you like it or don't like it, consoles are gonna battle out. It's the nature of things. Xbox has to do better than Nintendo and Sony. That's their goal is to do better. I mean, I don't think that's their goal. Their goal is to drop good games and good content and good consoles. That's not their goal. But you are blind if you think that these studios are not looking. You don't. If you don't think Xbox is looking at Sony and Nintendo, like what are they doing? How can we top this? What can we drop? What's in our vote that can match this? Same thing with Sony. You don't think if you don't think just because Sony's doing good right now that they're looking at Xbox like, okay, what are they dropping? Game Pass. Why do you think Sony blocked out the Activision deal? That's a big one. Sony stopped the Activision deal because it would be a problem. So let's not act like Sony is just on its high horse. Because if it was, it wouldn't care what Xbox did. But Xbox is trying to make moves, and Sony's trying to stop it. Because what they do does matter. If if you want to call it console wars or Xbox races, the consoles, the companies, they do battle it out because they have to.
People, like 90% of the people every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems, and their digital library is there. This is
That's
the first
true.
generation where the big games that they're playing
I lost my Xbox
were
account.
games that
It
were
hurt.
available
I
last
had like
gen. When
40
you think about
games on it.
Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, like the continuity from generation to generation is
And
so
my
strong.
Fortnite.
I see a lot of pundits out there that kind of want to go back to the time where we all had cartridges and discs, and every new generation was a clean slate,
Not
and you
me.
could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world that we are in today.
I love
There is no
digital.
world where Starfield's an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen. So what we have to do, and we have this unique vision because we see what creators want to do. Creators want to build games that can meet.
I like that. He said Starfield's 11 out of 10 and people start selling PS5s. If Starfield is 11 out of 10, if it's Ragnarok good, people will get Xboxes. I will say that. Is it dropping? I don't think it's dropping on PC. I don't know for sure, so it's not a fact. But if it doesn't drop on PC, people are going to get consoles. That was with me and Ragnarok. I was like, oh shit, Ragnarok's dropping. I gotta play it. Granted, I already had a PS4 then, but I would have bought a PS4 or 5 instantly before it dropped because I was not going to miss out on the opportunity to play a God of War game. So if Starfield is good, 11 out of 10, as he said, people will buy consoles to play it. It's not if and. Is it that huge? I don't. No. If it's 11 out of 10, people will buy consoles to play it. I don't think that's a question.
Players on any screen.
They're not going to sell the
play
PS5
with their
though.
friends, regardless of what other screen they're on. And the console is the core of the Xbox brand. There's no doubt. So like we will stay focused on making sure that console experience is awesome. But I know some people want to hold us up of just being a better green version of what the blue guys do. And I'm just going to say, like, there's not a win for Xbox in staying in the wake of somebody else. We have to go off and do
The
our
blue
own
guys.
thing with Game Pass, with the stuff we do with xCloud, and the way we build our games. Sorry, I was a little long-winded.
No, that was perfect. And unfortunately, we do have to say goodbye to you, Phil. I know that we have a hard out here, but I want to end it with something positive, Phil, because I've gotten cranky, Phil, this whole episode, and I freaking love you, and I appreciate you being on and being hard with us, but I do need something positive out of you, Phil. So before you leave, tell me and the Xbox community something positive that you're looking forward to, that you're playing, Anything fun to bring a smile to your face?
Dude, I'm an optimist.
I'm not
Like,
smiling. I was looking forward to
I will
Redfall
always see. I'll use this for
like
you.
a
The gap
lot.
between the trees. I'll always see the fresh pow. Like, this is why I'm here. I love the games that are ahead of us. I'm having a great time playing the games that are available in Game Pass today. I look in Ravenlock coming. Benedict's here. I just love
Benedict
playing
is
video
cool.
games. One of the things I am excited about is the ROG Ally, something I've got my hands on. If people have had a chance to play with that, and I just love the fact that here's another device that people are going to get to go experience great
Oh, you're
games
talking about the
on,
handheld.
whether it's your Steam Deck or that or your Xbox. I see the growth in video games. I get to spend time with creators who are excited about the opportunity that they have. I get to go play some amazing games. Some of those are Game Pass, some of those not. And I just think the gaming space has never been more diversely creative than it is right now, and it's a privilege to be a part of it.
I love hearing that. Paris, end us with this episode. What do you got to say? And let's get out of here.
Yeah, just a quick statement as we get out of here. First and foremost, Phil, thank you for doing this. This is clearly not the conversation we thought we were going to have when we scheduled this, but we do appreciate your candor and just being 100% honest about the current state of what's going on with Xbox. I am hopeful in the future we can have more conversations about what.
I think they should offer full refunds for Redfall. I didn't buy it. I played on Game Pass. But for people that bought it, I think they should offer full refunds with no questions asked. That'd be weird if they didn't. But yeah, they should offer definitely be like, hey, if you bought the game, full refund here. And if you bought it on Game Pass, you didn't really lose anything. All you did was get hurt because you thought there's
The
a
idea
release.
that Xbox is doing in their initiatives, Game
Good.
Camp New Orleans, things like that are more positive and enabling more creators, because that's what I really wanted to talk about in this episode. But as we go into June, I am looking forward to the showcase. I am looking forward to the reveals that are coming.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna react to it.
I still think
I don't
the
react
future
to
is bright for
showcases no more.
Xbox
I'll
and
be at
Xbox
work
Game
now.
Studios and what you'll have to present. This is a bump in the road, but I still think the future is going to be bright. So again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Paris.
All right. Well, on behalf of my two gaming dads, thank you, Phil Spencer, for joining us on this week's.
Well, that's gonna wrap it up, man. That video was long. Yeah, hour? That's an hour long. Hey, like you said, like I said so many times in this video, when you do good and then you do bad, the bad is the only thing that matters. I'm gonna see you next week. Peace and goodbye.